playing it with a solo melody. I have to take the melody and then take all the other parts of the melody and put it on that one. Maybe on the pedals. So it's a whole process. Pretty, do you need bamboos?
No. I don't know.
There's no ume on that?
Well, I don't know. I didn't even ask the cow, but I don't know if they have that probably.
Oh, really? You couldn't find ume for us?
Oh, really?
Actually, my daughter, my in-law, Sunday. Oh, yeah. It's down in
Farm market then.
Really? Is it? Well, you did do your candies.
Yeah. Well, I don't. It costs too much. Not,
Yeah, I know,
so
right?
we just keep it.
He's actually come back and he's like relearn all this stuff.
Oh, fine.
Just tell me. And
so much for the movie. I'm gonna watch it. Oh, so this is the guy that dies at the end.
Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Namandab, 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 namandab.
Hō-onkō is a service, a memorial service, held for Shinran Shonin, the founder of the Jodo Shinshu sect, on the anniversary of his death. Main reason for conducting this Hō-onkō service is that in our daily lives, most of us are too busy to think of gratitude. Therefore, the Hō-onkō service provides us an opportunity to do so on the anniversary of the death of Shinran Shonin. At this time of Hō-onkō, we should come again, we should once again trace the footsteps of Shinran Shonin with deep appreciation in our hearts and resolve to dedicate ourselves in the service of others to truly make our world more friendly and happier for all mankind. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy New Year. Nice to see all of you here for our first special service of 2024, Hō-onkō, the Memorial of Shinran Shonin. My name is Robert Noguchi, and I'll be your chairperson for today's service. We have programs in the back, but we also are trying something new where we have this QR code. If you want to take a look at not only the program, but all the readings, all the sutras, all the gathas that we'll be using for today's service. So if you're able to try that, let me know, give me some feedback later on about it, because this is the first time we're trying this. It's kind of a new thing that we're trying here at the Buddhist Church of Oakland. So with that, I will turn the service over to Reverend Bridge for a Nembutsu recitation for the Dharma School service and the rest of the Dharma School service.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our Hō-onkō service. So today's service is oriented towards Shinran Shonin. He's the founder of our school, and even though it's commemorating when he died, which is over 760 years ago, and we're still doing it, right? But even though it's commemorating his death, we want to think about his life. Okay, so we're going to think about Shinran a little bit. Sometimes I have a big monitor screen, and I would show you all kinds of pictures of Shinran Shonin, but we didn't set that up. But it's okay, because we have pictures of Shinran here and there. Do you know where some of them are? Oh, yeah. I see one pointing this way. I see one pointing that way, right? So behind me, did you notice that when I came out, I actually did incense offering, and I said Nembutsu. So I was doing that in front of a scroll of Shinran Shonin there. In the hallway, we have two. We have a statue, and we have that big tile picture, right, made up of all the different tiles. So there's 2, 3, and then today for Hō-onkō, we have this scroll. Can you see the scroll, right? And that scroll shows Shinran's life. And there's actually a bunch of pictures of Shinran on that one too. So today, I'd be willing to guess, and there's one in the library, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have at least 10, maybe 15, maybe even 20 pictures of Shinran Shonin for today's Hō-onkō service. Now, one of the cool things about all these images is, what's he holding? Yeah, boom, he's holding one of these. He's holding a Nenju. And you can see it drawn in all the pictures, but that statue is really cool because he actually has one. Like, you can go up and you can touch it. I give you permission. You can touch the Nenju, right? And you realize, wow, it's like this kind of, right? It's got all these beads. Now, mine's pretty big, pretty long, right? I got a smaller one. Some of you have like this, right? Some people have kind of smaller one. Some people have even smaller one, right? Like that, like this, right? That you wear on your wrist. This is called Nenju, okay? Nenju. And so I have a Nenju on my wrist. I got a Nenju in my hand. Shinran Shonin's holding Nenju in all the pictures. I looked, I checked, and even the tile picture, even the statue, even the little ones, each little one, there's a tiny little Nenju. And there's actually 2 more Nenju in here, I know. Do you know who's holding those? Gassho Bear. Even Gassho Bear has Nenju. Right? That's how you can tell they converted to Buddhism, right? And we know they're Buddhists because they're holding the Nenju, right? So having the Nenju is one way to kind of be like, I'm Buddhist, right? And so I have, even if somebody else doesn't know, I know because I have it on my wrist, right? Or I'm holding it. Now, Nenju, what does that mean? It's Japanese words, right? So ju in this case is beads because it's made up of beads. Right? But the nen is something I've been talking about for years. Awareness, or maybe mindfulness, right? So that these are mindfulness beads, okay? So, part of it is to remind us of this mindfulness, to remind us to be aware, but then part of it is to remind us of the things we're supposed to be aware of, right? Because that's what you always have to ask. If ever we hear about mindfulness, mindfulness of what? Awareness? Awareness of what? Right? And so there's lots of answers. One, which ties into our Dharma school theme this year, is emotions, right? To be aware of my emotions. Sometimes we get mad and we don't realize it. But if I can realize, whoa, I'm mad right now. Sometimes even realizing that, why is that other person mad? Well, wait, they got mad and then I got mad, or I got mad and then they got mad, and now we're fighting. But if I can realize, wait a second, I'm angry. Why? Hold on. Just chill out. Then sometimes that's what makes the anger disappear, or at least go lower, right? And maybe instead of fighting, we can talk. Another thing is to be aware of attachment or desire, right? Sometimes there's stuff we want really bad. I'm not sure what people want these days. One thing I heard of is Stanley Cup. Have you heard of Stanley Cup? It's not the hockey thing, right? Sorry, Jeffrey. It's the Stanley Cup. It's like this reusable drink cup. You can put water in it, right? Apparently everybody wants this. They want the Stanley Cup, right? And so that's desire. If you don't have one and everyone else has one, you're like, I need the Stanley Cup. I want a Stanley Cup. Why can't I have it? I can't be happy until I get the Stanley Cup. And then you realize, wait a second. My Nenju, right? Awareness. Why do I want this thing? Right? Do I really need it? Right? Is it something I have to have? Is it something worth getting so upset about? That desire is one of the key things that keeps us unhappy. But if I realize, wow, I've been wanting that thing for so long and I haven't been able to get it, it's okay, right? Maybe I don't need it. Maybe I can have a different one, right? It doesn't have to be Stanley Cup, right? Maybe you want it. It's okay to want stuff, right? But if it's taking over your life, then sometimes that's what the Nenju can help us be aware of, right? And be aware, wait, I'm not happy, but it's because of this thing that they're trying to push on me. One more thing I want to mention. Now, the reason I'm talking about Nenju is because Dharma School is going to be making some Nenju after this in class, okay? Special ones, okay? And so the one other thing I want to mention that it can help us be aware of is impermanence. Impermanence. I haven't talked about it that much at Dharma School, but that's a really important Buddhist idea. Impermanence. One way we can think about it, like I said, Shinran Shonin died 761 years ago on this coming Tuesday. Okay? January 16th. Like that date is really important for us. And we remember, oh, that's the day that Shinran died. And so death is something we don't like to talk about a lot, but in Buddhism, we want to at least be aware of it. Right? And so that's one kind of impermanence. I'm wearing this special orange robe today. This was given to me by Reverend Dr. Seigen Yamaoka, who was the minister here before me and back in the 60s. He died in December. So we're going to have a big funeral next Saturday. Right? And so this impermanence is something that we have to face sometimes. But that's not the only meaning of impermanence. The other meaning is change. Change. Things are always changing. I looked at a picture of me and Yamaoka sensei 25 years ago. So he looked a lot younger. Even I looked a lot younger. My hair was short, right? And I was kind of skinnier, I think. And the picture looks really old. It's a Polaroid. We don't even have Polaroid anymore, right? Polaroid, who's heard of Polaroid camera? Right? Some people, yeah, you've heard of it. Do you have one? Have you used one? Right? Sometimes you use it and the film is so old, the picture comes out looking really weird, which is kind of cool in a way, but you can't really use it as like a real camera anymore. But they don't even have it anymore. That's impermanence. How many people have a real film camera? I just use this. Right? This is my camera now. When I was younger, 25 years ago, you had to take the film to the place and get it developed. That changed. Things are always changing. That's impermanence. So that's another thing that the Nenju can help us remember, that things are always changing. Sometimes we don't like it, right? Sometimes we don't like it when things change. But Buddha teaches us that's reality. Right? Shinran teaches us that too. This reality of change, of impermanence. Right? This reality that sometimes I get angry, sometimes I want stuff real bad, right? But don't get stuck there. Right? If I'm getting stuck in anger or stuck with desire, well, you don't have this one. Maybe you have wearing this, because you don't have to just wear it at church. You can wear this all the time, right? Trying to be mindful, trying to be aware of my feelings, trying to be aware of the 3 poisons in my life, trying to be aware of impermanence and change. So the other thing we use Nenju for, like Gassho Bear, is modeling it for us, right? And so we can wrap it around our hands when we put our hands together in Gassho, and we put our hands together, whether it's up here offering incense or now. When I say Gassho, just like Gassho Bear, we put our hands together and recite the Nembutsu. So let's put our hands together. And actually, let's do Nembutsu recitation, because I wasn't aware and I forgot. I dropped the thing and I was like, I already did it, but I didn't do it. So I'm going to use the giant stick on the mini bell. Let's see how it sounds. Okay, ready? Let's do Nembutsu recitation. I'll say it once, and then we all say it together 5 times. Okay? So we put our hands together. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Oh, that sounds nice. All right. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay, let's do something new today. We have a gatha. It's an old gatha, but it's a new gatha because we haven't done this since before the pandemic. So some of you might not even know it. It's in the small purple book. It's called Farewell. It's on page 45. I've been singing this song for 25 years. shall spread the happiness faith in Buddha brings. Now it's time to say goodbye till we meet again. Namu Amida Butsu, sing this fine refrain. Namu Amida Butsu, sunny day or rain. Namu Amida Butsu, strong in faith remain. Namu Amida Butsu, till we meet again. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda. Okay, thank you. This will conclude our Dharma School portion. So Dharma School students, you can be dismissed to class, and adults, sit tight. We're going to be right back. And you can do Oshoko if you haven't done so already.
Okay, thank you very much, Sensei. We'll continue with the adult service now and do sutra chanting, Jusei-ge, which is on page 23 in this small service book, or page 93 in the large service book. This is the one that actually has the English translation in it, so if you want to follow along. So it's Jusei-ge of the sutra chanting, page 23 in the small service book, or page 93 in the large service book.
Namanda, 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 namanda. Gagon chosegan hishimu jodo shigan fumanzok seifu joshogak gao muryoko Fui dai seshu, fusai shobingu, seifu joshogak, gashi jobutsudo, myosho chojippo, Kukyomi shomon, seifu joshogak, ryokujin shonen, joe shubongyo, shigumu jodo, Isho tenin shi, jinniki and aiko, fushomu saido, shoujo sankumyo, kosai shunyakunan, kai ichi egen, meshi kon mo am, hei soku sho akudo, tsudatsu zen shumon, koso jo manzok, iyoro jippo, nichigatsu shujuki, tenko onpugen, ishu kai hozo, koseku dokuho, jōdai shichu, seppo shishiku, kuyoi saibutsu, gusoku shutoku hon, gane shitsu joman, tokui sangai yo, nyobutsu mugechi, tsudatsu mi fusho, gangaku erik, toshi saisho son, shiganya koka, daisen okando, koku shoten ni, tou chin myo ke, namandabu, 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 gamni shikudoku, byodo seisai, dohoten bodaishin, ojo an rakok. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Thank you. Next, we will have the reading of the three treasures, which is on page 3 in this small service book, led by Reverend Bridge.
The three treasures. Hard is to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha, May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo.
Thank you. Now we'll have our Dharma talk for this Hō-onkō gathering service by our resident minister, Reverend Harry Gyokyo Bridge. Sensei?
Thank you. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Again. Thank you so much for joining us for our Hō-onkō service. And really, I think what I'm going to talk a lot about is Nembutsu. Such an important part of our tradition, important part of Shinran's life. And that's kind of the tying it all together, right? This special service commemorating the death of Shinran Shonin. And I was trying to figure out how long ago did that happen? And one touch point for me is we did the 750th a while ago. Remember that in San Jose? And we went to San Jose and we did this special service on the BCA level for the 750th anniversary of Shinran's passing. I don't remember what year we did it. I didn't look it up because they did it at Honzan in that year, and then the overseas districts, other places would do it at different times, right? And so I do remember going to San Jose to do that, and I got my calculator out, and Shinran Shonin lived from 1173 to 1263. And so 63, right? So 750 would have been 2013. So we're at 2024, 11 years later, so 750 plus 11 is 761. But there's a year difference because of the counting way. So maybe this is the 760th. Huh. And that's where things get really confusing, right? Because if you have family members that have passed away, and we do all our special memorials, right, of first year, third year, 7th year, 13th year, 17th year, 25th year, 50th year, and people are like, can we stop after 50? No, you can do 100, right? You can actually do it every year. That's what Shotsuki's about, right? So we have our Shotsuki monthly memorial, which we just did last week for January, right? So every year we can remember and honor our loved ones who've passed. But the funny thing is, the first year happens a year later, and then the third year, you would think, that's 3 years later, right? Duh. Nope. The third year happens 2 years later. The 7th year happens 6 years later. The 50th happens 49 years later. So we might actually be at the 762nd, actually. Huh. It's too much for my brain right now. But those are so interesting. Like, it's tied in to the life of our temple. Right? Because our temple, we do a lot of memorial services. I've heard some temples don't do so many, but I like the fact that here in Oakland, very often families want to do this special memorial to remember their loved ones, right? In America, we don't normally do that, right? Do the funeral, forget it. We don't want to think about this anymore, right? In Buddhism, we revisit again and again and again. And that's related to impermanence, change. Right? That it's not just one feeling. Right? That when we lose someone, we go through so many feelings. And those feelings change over time. right? So I think that's one of the because I didn't grow up with this whole memorial service tradition. I didn't grow up Buddhist. I learned about it gradually when I got into Buddhism and when I went to school and when I became a minister, and I had to learn more and more and more, right? But that tradition of memorials, right? Every year really with the Shotsuki, but these special memorials too. And Shinran Shonin is the most special person in our tradition, right? The founder of our school. So that's really this is really the most important service in our service calendar, technically, right? Especially on the Japanese side. I think here in America, maybe Hanamatsuri is pretty big, Obon is pretty big, right? New Year's Eve is pretty big, but this Hō-onkō one is also very, very special. So it's neat. Like I said, that statue, when you leave, look at the statue, and you see the Nenju, and it's a long one, right? 108 beads, the long one, and he's holding it with both hands. And then if you see the picture here, it's amazing, all the monks in the scroll. Please come up and look at this afterwards too, because it's a really amazing document, right? It's where manga grew out of, right? It's this Japanese kind of illustration style, and you can see Shinran in there, you can see Honen in there. I can recognize Honen. I swear Brian Nagata's in there. So look really carefully. The detail on these drawings is amazing. And Shinran's holding the Nenju in the pictures where he's a monk. Right? This picture behind me too, this kind of classic picture. The picture of that on those tiles out there. Right? That's the mirror portrait, this portrait that Shinran saw it and couldn't believe how well drawn it was. It's just really, the original is really kind of basic, but he's holding the Nenju. Right? I think this one's called the bear pelt portrait, because he's sitting on this kind of carpet thing, which is made from like probably a bear fur. Right? That one too, he's holding the Nenju. Now I know a lot of people say, isn't it Juzu? I grew up with Juzu. And yeah, it's a Juzu. Zu is to count. Right? So originally, these were counting beads, so that you could keep track how many times you're saying it. So there's 108 beads. So Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. I can keep track up to 108. And then there's extra beads here. So then I can go past 108, start over again. 109, 110, 111, 112, 113. Okay, I got to say it 1,000 times today, so I'm going to keep track. Something like that. Or for this ritual, I need to say it a bunch. Or I need to say different things a lot. The reason I think we call it Nenju and not Juzu is because we don't have to count. For us, it doesn't matter how many times you say the Nembutsu. We don't have to keep track. The important thing is that we say it. That we say the Nembutsu. So I think part of, we say it a lot at church, huh? On Sunday, you hear it a lot. When we start, as soon as we sit down, Namandab, 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 and then we bow, then service starts, right? We did the Nembutsu chanting with the kids. When we did sutra chanting, we said it at the beginning, we said it during, we said it at the end, right? We say it a lot. I said it before I started talking. And I was thinking the other day, I wonder if that's kind of modeling it for us. Right? I think in the pre-modern times, people said it all day, or devout followers. I'm sure Shinran was saying it all day, saying the Nembutsu again and again and again. Not to try to get something, but just saying it, this spontaneous Nembutsu coming out from him. This morning when I opened the curtains, it was so beautiful. The rain, I love rain, but after the rain can be really nice, right? And so I looked out my window, and the sun was coming up, and there were some nice wispy clouds in the sky, and it was so beautiful. And Nembutsu came out. That doesn't usually happen to me. Now there was a split second before I said it when I had this kind of awareness, so I was kind of in my head, and after I said it, I was like, oh, I said Nembutsu. Started thinking about it, but that kind of calculative thinking isn't what we should be doing, right? That ideally, it just comes out. You see this beautiful sight? Namandab, namandab. Maybe you catch yourself thinking bad thoughts about someone? Namandab, namandab, namandab. Right? Maybe someone gives you something. totally unexpected, namanda, namanda. It can happen anytime. You're not supposed to say it before you go gambling, right? And we don't do this anymore, but you can pretend, right? You're not supposed to say, namanda, namanda, I'm going to win, okay, here, right? But I think it's okay to say it. Just say it after, whether you win or lose, right? You win, namanda, this is great. You lose, namanda, namanda, right? It's not about trying to get something. It's not about trying to be born in the Pure Land. It's not about trying to be a good person. We're just saying it. So this got me back to thinking early for me. Like I say, I didn't grow up Buddhist. 1990, I encountered it. I kind of heard the Dharma and embarked on a journey, right? It's a journey that took me to Japan. During college, I went on a study abroad thing, ostensibly to try and learn Japanese once again, and I failed once again. But what really happened was I got to study Buddhism in Japan. I went to Kansai Gaikoku Daigaku, Kansai Gaidai, for their Japanese program, but they had an Intro to Zen class, and then they had a visiting professor named Donald Tuck, who was studying BCA, and he wrote a book about BCA. But he was being a visiting scholar, so I took his Intro to Buddhism class. And one of the things we did, we went to Nishihonganji. We actually went to the temple. I also went to visit a minister who was there, who was originally, what was his name? Yoshikawa sensei? Dennis Yoshikawa. He used to be BCA, I think he's from Denver or Colorado, but then he ended up marrying into a temple family in Japan, right, and moved there. And he became the Jushoku, the head minister of that temple there in Kyoto. But he would have monthly gatherings for English speakers. So I got to go to their temple. And I'd started reading. I saw Namu Amida Butsu, right? I knew something about that, but I didn't hear it. I heard him go, rum, 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 rum. It's like, what are they saying? Num, 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 num. I had no idea what was going on. Right? I heard them saying this namandab, namandab, like we chanted in the sutra, like you hear us doing a lot, but I had no idea. So I was kind of embarrassed. I was really uncomfortable. Right? I thought about this stuff for the first time last night in 30 years maybe? Right? Remembering that discomfort, right? Of what are they saying? It doesn't sound anything like Namu Amida Butsu. How do you get namandab, namandab from Namu Amida Butsu? It wasn't until years later that I felt comfortable enough to start asking questions, right? And to realize, oh, and it was especially probably from seeing it in the Japanese version of the book. That's why I don't like the romaji of just the English letters. I like seeing the English letters next to the kanji. Because even if you can't read the kanji, you're still seeing it in the same form that you see it in Japanese. And when you see that namandabu part we did at the end, right? Namandabu. Next to it you see Namu Amida Butsu. But it's written in hiragana, namandabu. Right? So namandabu is an abbreviation of Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu, namandab, it's namandab, it's namandab, namandab, namandab. Because people are saying it a lot. Hundreds of times a day, thousands of times a day. So it gets kind of abbreviated. So that connection, Namu Amida Butsu and Namandabu. So again, I feel like in a way we're modeling it here so that hopefully you can do it in your daily life. That's the ideal, right? This expression of Nembutsu, saying Namu Amida Butsu in daily life, not just after I say it, not just because it's written in the book. Another confusing thing is it Namu or Namo? Right? And I'm very clear, I go Namo Amida Butsu, right? And then we're singing Namu Amida Butsu, sing this. I'm like, oh, don't. They put Namu in there, right? That's another thing that changes over time, impermanence, change, right? And my understanding is Shinran was Namo, and he writes that mo in some of his writings, right? But the technically correct pronunciation would be Namu, right? That kanji for mu, right? Namu Amida Butsu, but it becomes Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So when we chant Shoshinge, Namo Amida Butsu, if you try to go to get ordained and you go Namu Amida, we're like, no. you can't get ordained, sit Namo, right? Now Namo, right, is this part of our tradition too, Nishi Honganji. I understand Higashi may say Namu, right? Jodo Shu may say Namu, but our understanding is for Shinran, it was Namo Amida Butsu. But that's confusing. Which one is it? I don't feel comfortable saying it, right? So again, just keep listening, right? And this Namo Amida Butsu. The Nenju, right? This is the normal kind one, for men anyway, right? For women it has those fancier tassels, right? But this smaller one, right, is probably what you have. It's what just normal everyday kind of use. And so, I do have this kind of longer one. There's actually another one that's white and black, right? But I just use this one for the kids and because it looks more like the one that Shinran's holding out there in the hall. And then the wrist one, right? Sometimes it has something in the you can look inside, right? And sometimes it's a Buddha. I think I had one that had Renyo in it, Renyo Shonin from the Renyo celebrations back when I was a student. But mine, this one has a very special message. Bona fide bakatare. Bakatare is basically idiot or fool, right? Baka, right? And so this one says, bona fide bakatare. I got it from Kodani sensei at Senshin. This is his retirement Nenju that he gave to people. Okay? So when I said, what are we supposed to be aware of? What is this mindfulness that we're supposed to be doing? And that's one of them. My foolish nature. Right? That I'm not a great, wonderful person. That I don't know everything. Right? No, I'm a fool. Right? This foolish person that doesn't know right from wrong, that doesn't know good from evil. Right? And one expression of that is baka. Right? Don't use that word unless you know what you're doing, right? It's one of those Japanese swear words. It's not that bad, right, compared to a lot of our swear words, right? That's another thing I learned in my studies is American English swear words are very often like body parts, right? Or bodily functions or things we might do, right? Japanese swear words, what I figured out, a couple of them they're related to Buddhism, the 6 realms. Right? That in Buddhism we have 6 realms of the reincarnation, right? Heaven, human beings, hungry ghosts, animals, and hell. Right? And so the animal realm is called Chikusho. And if you watch Japanese movies, maybe you don't hear it so much anymore, but I've been watching Godzilla movies lately from the 60s, and they're always like, Chikusho. Right? And they translate it as, damn it. Or bastard, right? It's like they translate it so funny. But it means animal, you subhuman beast, right? It comes from Buddhism and like looking down on some people as not fully human. I think it's the same with baka, because it just means deer. It's like these kanji for deer, right? But so isn't that interesting? Like these Japanese swear words connected so deeply to Buddhism. And that's maybe where we're at a disadvantage in America, because we don't have that deep connection. But maybe it's good, because when you have the deep connection, you're not aware of it, right? But in America, we can learn about this stuff. And whoa, it fills in a lot of the parts of the picture. So I wanted to read a statement from Shinran Shonin. This is from the Tani Sho. It's not something he wrote, but it's something that he's reported as saying. His disciple remembered him saying this. I know nothing at all of good or evil. For if I could know thoroughly, as Amida Buddha knows, that an act was good, then I would know good. If I could know thoroughly, as the Buddha knows, that an act was evil, then I would know evil. But with a foolish being, full of blind passions, in this fleeting world, this burning house, all matters without exception are empty and false, totally without truth and sincerity. The Nembutsu alone is true and real. This is such a fascinating statement to me. Right? You don't have to believe it. You don't have to buy into it. I'm not saying this is dogma or gospel, right? But I think there's something really important here. that statement. With a foolish being full of blind passions in this fleeting world, this burning house of samsara, all matters, without exception, are empty and false, totally without truth and sincerity. The Nembutsu alone is true and real. Namo Amida Butsu alone is true and real. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, I'd like to move into kind of part two, and that is because there's an expression that I learned from Reverend Yuki Sugahara, who's now the Rinban of Sacramento Betsuin, and he came up with this at a National Council meeting. No Atarimae. No Atarimae. And the problem with this expression is that it's got Japanese in it, right? So we got to figure out an English way to say it, right? But this term Atarimae, I had to look it up, and it turns out it comes from a Japanese expression, tozen. Naturally, obviously, right? But you can write the tozen. The zen is the same zen as in shizen. But you can also write it with mai, zen, like in front of. So it's called ateji. It's like using these phonetic equivalents of Chinese characters. And so they read this ateji that doesn't have any meaning, but it just sounds like the real meaning as atarimae. So atarimae doesn't really mean what the words are, but that's just a little bit of background. And so I finally figured out, I think it means it's obvious. Of course. Duh. Right? Hello. It's obvious. Atarimae, yo. Of course that's true. And then what Sugahara was saying is, no atarimae. We don't have that, where we can say, of course, duh. What's wrong with you? You don't know the truth? I know it. It's obvious. I think this is so interesting. Because there's some things, I've said that a few times recently in the past few months, no atarimae, and a couple people have said, I think it's kind of atarimae, right? What we're talking about. I'm not going to tell you what we were talking about, but you might have heard it at a board meeting or something, right? You can guess, you can fill in the blanks. What could be atarimae? And so, well, I'll put one of them. Killing is wrong. Atarimae, of course. Seems pretty good, right? Seems pretty obvious. Killing is wrong. Is it totally obvious? Is it so obvious we can't talk about it? Right? Is it so obvious that we can't see maybe there's exceptions? Right? Or is it so obvious that we can't see maybe someone else might believe something different? And so to me, that if we find something to be obvious, it doesn't mean that that's wrong, but warning bells should go off. If it seems so obvious to me that I can't possibly accept another answer as a Buddhist, wait a second, no atarimae. Maybe it's not obvious, right? So what I was thinking is, if only we had a Nenju, I gotta finish because they're coming back, right? If only we had a Nenju that lit up when I was accepting something as obvious that wasn't, right? And it starts flashing. Oh, wait a second, I'm kind of buying my own shtick here, right? I think I know everything, right? Or maybe it could even zap you, right? Oh, of course that person's an idiot. Zzz. Oh, I'm sorry, right? It's probably good we don't have that because someone might hack it and then they could do that to make me think what they want me to think, right? So it's good we don't have that. But isn't that kind of how it might work? Right? Of course that person's a jerk. How could you like them? I don't like them. Look at what they do. They do this, that. Atarimae, of course, it's obvious. Wait a second, can I judge like that? Am I better that I can say that about someone else? Oh yeah, I'm a bona fide bakatare. I'm a fool. How can I call someone else a fool? So that to me is part of what's going on with the Nenju, right? Is to try and get us to be aware. Be aware that maybe it's not as obvious as I think. Be aware that maybe there's other viewpoints and I should be a little more open to them. It doesn't mean I'm wrong, but am I really right? And so just, I want to encourage you, someone could make a killing on Nenju over here, I think. Maybe not, but I mean, if you go to Japan, there's so many cool Nenju stores, like at Honzan. And you can get these all different kinds. You can spend everything from 100 yen to 1,000,000 yen, right? Just on a Nenju, right? And so we don't have that, but maybe you have a special one. You know, thinking about Yamaoka sensei, he's the one that taught me about this kind of Nenju and how it kind of darkens over time, right? And I just remembered that too. So even something like that, like this isn't one that he gave me, but one of the first Nenju I was given was from Yamaoka sensei of this kind, right? And so thinking of that, and it's a connection too, right? My connection to one of my senseis, one of my mentors, right? So there's that too, to remember all these connections we have, to remember to be aware, right? Be aware of those connections, be aware of myself, be aware of the Buddha Dharma. And so on this occasion of Hō-onkō, right, this special service commemorating Shinran Shonin, right, who gave us this incredible teaching of Nembutsu, this incredible teaching for ordinary people, right? You don't have to be special, you don't have to be a certain this or that, right? You can be yourself. That we think about the Dharma, that we recite the Nembutsu, and keep this idea of no Atarimae maybe in our minds. So I'd like to conclude, let's do Kansho, and I'd like to read that passage once again, and we'll conclude the Dharma talk. These words of Shinran Shonin reported in the Tanisho. I know nothing at all of good or evil, for if I could know thoroughly as Amida Tathagata knows that an act was good, then I would know good. If I could know thoroughly as the Buddha knows that an act was evil, then I would know evil. But with a foolish being full of blind passions in this fleeting world, this burning house, all matters without exception are empty and false, totally without truth and sincerity. The Nembutsu alone is true and real. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Okay, thank you very much, Sensei. Next, we'll be singing a Gatha Shinshu Anthem, which is actually in this blue folder here under S, so it's towards the back. It's actually the translation of Shinshu Shuka. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and sing Shinshu Anthem.
Teachings profound. What happiness you bring to me. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Namo.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, I have a few announcements, and actually for those people that are online, they'll be seeing some slides, and you can view this later on the YouTube channel. Just a few things. We're kind of resuming our study classes and Dharma chats through the Buddhist Education Committee. Our next study class will be Saturday, the 27th, January 27th from 1 to 3. And then on Sunday, we'll have Dharma chat on the very next day, Sunday the 28th, right after service at 10:45. And actually that'll feature a presentation by Reverend Michael Endo about his recent trip to Honganji in Japan with our Tokudo aspirants. Thank you. I'm at a loss for words today. So that'll be on the 28th. And then that same afternoon, on Sunday the 28th, there'll be Ikebana lecture and display. That'll be happening. There's more information on the website and on flyers downstairs, so I'm just running down the quick information. But that'll be on Sunday the 28th at 1 p.m. On Saturday, February 10th, will be our February study class. And actually, remember Sensei last week asked how many people had seen the movie Barbie, and only I think 1 or 2 people actually said that they had seen it. So this will be a look at the movie Barbie. It'll be a screening as well as discussion, Q&A, and analysis from Sensei about how it relates to Buddhism. So that should be very interesting. That'll be on Saturday the 10th of February. Actually, it's going to start at 2 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock. So we'll have a special time for that. Other than that, we'd love to have you join us as far as being part of the BCO family. There are membership opportunities and flyers downstairs and on the website. So be part of the BCO family and be a member. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me or any one of the BCO board members about being a member of the church. Also want to thank you very much for all your support. There's ways of giving. We appreciate any gifts given through PayPal on the website or through the Osai-san dishes. There's one out the entrance to the Hondo. So if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to ask us. But we thank you very much for your support. And I think the last thing I wanted to mention is that the Buddhist Churches of America have published their 2024 calendar, and it's very nice. And actually on the January, guess who's featured? Shinran Shonin. Yeah. So this is Renyo Shonin and Shinran Shonin are featured in the month of January. So this is available for all families, members' families. So they're downstairs on the table downstairs in the foyer. So if you'd like one, please take one. Okay? I think that's all I have. I think right now I want to turn it over to the board president, Keiju Terada, who has some words of appreciation. Keiju?
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the Buddhist Church of Okan, I'd like to give our thanks to Reverend Harry Bridge for officiating today's special Hō-onkō service and for his Dharma talk on Namo Amida Butsu, the Nenju, and it also reminds me I'm going to have to watch my Japanese swearing, so didn't know I was. Also, thank you to Reverend Michael Endo for co-officiating and the beautiful flowers and setting up the onaijin for, again, the special service today. So thank you, Sensei. To Steve Terusaki, for once again, his beautiful playing of the organ. And so once again, thank you to Steve. Thank you to Host Group 10, which is led by Trisha Lee, for the Otoki luncheon that we will be soon enjoying downstairs immediately after the service. And thank you to everybody for attending today's Hō-onkō service. Thank you very much.
Nam.
Okay, thank you very much, Keiju. For those of you who are either first-time guests or visitors to the temple today, please don't hesitate to come forward after the service to get a better look at the Naijin, and you can offer incense. And as Keiju mentioned, everyone's invited to join us for lunch downstairs, sponsored by our host group number 10. So we would like to welcome and invite you all to stay for lunch, and we could sit and gather and visit and get to know each other. So once again, thank you very much to all of you for coming today. We hope you enjoyed your experience here at the Buddhist Church of Oakland, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Namanda. Namanda. Namanda.